Happy Thanksgiving, one and all. Hope you've all had a joyous, festive holiday season. And now we march into the realm of Christmas madness. The part of the time in between Thanksgiving and Christmas where we're scrambling to get everything Christmas together. But before then, I was able to, in honor of Ghostbusters Afterlife, I decided to take a look at Ghostbusters for the Atari 2600. I remember playing this game back when I was a kid, and I was able to pick it up when games went on to garage sales for the most part. And I'll be giving my thoughts on Ghostbusters for the Atari. But first, a little quick recap on the history of the Ghostbusters franchise. And it's a lot bigger than you might think.
No, this is not the symbol you're looking for. This is actually the symbol of Filmation's live-action Ghostbusters series from 1975. It consisted of 3 characters, Spencer, Tracy, and Kong. No, Kong is not the ape. I think that might be considered speciest. Well, that's no Filmation was ahead of the PC wagon at the time. This was a 1-year show, live action. It was done in the vein of the old slapstick comedies you found in the past sitcoms. It was believed this show would go on to prime time. Unfortunately, it did not make that leap, as it only lasted 1 year. The formula had the Ghostbusters going to get an assignment from a mysterious benefactor called Zero, who leaves messages that self-destruct in 5 seconds. Tracking down the ghosts to an old castle or the nearby graveyard, the ghosts usually consisted of a ghost, main ghost, and a sidekick that usually followed along. After they do a whole bunch of slapstick comedy hijinks, the Ghostbusters bring out their dematerializer weapon, and the ghost gets sent to another dimension. Sadly, this show was canceled in favor of the mighty ISIS. And we all know this symbol. The symbol of the popular 1984 movie. I remember seeing this film when it came out in theaters, and it was a joy. Created by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, also starring Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis, and Ernie Hudson. They wanted to use the Ghostbusters title, but they had to go through Filmation to get permission to use the title. Filmation granted permission to use the title in exchange for 1% of the profits. This film has been done in the vein of Saturday Night Live as well as Second City Comedy. And from this film also sustained a sequel film and a Saturday morning and syndication cartoon series. The cartoon sustained the popularity of the franchise, but when the second film happened, it was not quite seen as popular as the first, even though the original cast and the original director, Ivan Reitman, returned. When put together with the cartoon would acknowledge the movies. However, the movies did not feel obligated to honor the cartoon. When the Saturday morning cartoon happened, the title The Real Ghostbusters was added due to avoiding confusion with Filmation that would do their own Ghostbusters cartoon. Still a joy to watch. Filmation would return to do a third Ghostbusters team based off their original Spencer, Tracy, and Kong. In an animated form, Spencer and Kong are reduced to background roles, with Tracy sticking around with their sons Jake and Eddie. Also added on are Futura, Ghostbusters of the Future, reporter Jessica Ray, Madam Y the Gypsy, Belfry the Bat, Fuddy the Wizard, and even the fathers are brought in to bust from time to time. They first aired as a 5-part miniseries
looking for TV stations alongside shows like Mask, Rambo, The Force of Freedom, and Sectors. Ghostbusters was chosen due to the success of the movie and He-Man for Filmation. Both Filmation and real Ghostbusters cartoons are different, as Filmation is a family-friendly show, and the real Ghostbusters cartoon is more like a sci-fi comedy. Both have their charms and appeals and existed simultaneously for about a year, but Filmation never went beyond the 65-episode commitment. The real Ghostbusters cartoon lasted a lot longer, but both still have their charms. The main enemy of the Filmation's Ghostbusters was a ghoul called Primeval, who had his own army of ghouls, which operated out of a haunt quarters in another dimension. I loved both cartoons, but it felt a little like Transformers vs. GoBots, and I would have loved it if the station in my area chose Mask as well as this Ghostbusters cartoon. I'm afraid I don't know a whole lot of this fourth team of Ghostbusters, and I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes to really get an idea of what they were about, and I don't really have plans to watch this team any further. Most of the movie cast is gone, with only Egon, Janine, and Slimer remaining. This new team consists of Eduardo Riviera, Kylie Griffin, Roland Jackson, and Garrett Miller. This series only lasted 40 episodes, short of the 65-episode syndication commitment, and frankly, this did not pique my interest. And we all know this fifth team, which is considered the most divisive among the fandom. And it also left me disappointed in both sides, where no matter what side you're on, you were in the wrong. I didn't see it when it was released in theaters, and I waited until Black Friday when it was out on DVD and bought it as a special. On one side of the fandom aisle, any new team had to stem from the original classic movie team. On the other side of the aisle, if you didn't like this film, you were considered sexist, misogynist, or any other nasty name that anyone could come up with at the time. I accepted this team as much as I accepted Filmation's version of Ghostbusters. And while I will agree that this is a flawed film, I did see potential in this cast and would be willing to give them another chance if the timing is right. But not with Paul Feig. Perhaps with one of the Reitmans. They'd be a better choice. And for all of those bellyaching about how the female Ghostbusters ruined it for you as a fan, well, and for a lot of those franchises that feel like theirs was ruined, I've seen worse done to less. But this is another story for another time. Aside from the hate that was shown to this film, it's largely forgettable for the most part, but there was a moment that I felt stuck out with me the most. It was the scene where the female Ghostbusters were going into their version of the firehouse and looking to purchase it. I felt they did not earn the firehouse to have as their headquarters. It reminded me of the superhero that decided to step aside and let a replacement fill in, and the replacement decided to continue using the other hero's costume. I felt that the firehouse was not theirs. It belonged to the classic series. And the fifth team needed their own identity. For me, the Chinese restaurant served as that identity. You take a look at a lot of the teams, and each headquarters had its own identity for that team. When you take a look at the headquarters of each series, in the classic Filmation series, Spencer, Tracy, and Kong had their little office that they operated out of. The classic film had the firehouse that they operated out of. When you take a look at the Filmation animated series, they had their own little house headquarters that was called Ghost Command. Extreme Ghostbusters also made use of the classic film Firehouse. And with the fifth team, the female Ghostbusters, they had their Chinese restaurant with the Afterlife cast making use of Egon's farmhouse as their headquarters. Essentially, each headquarters established the identity of the Ghostbusters team in question. So for me, the Chinese restaurant worked until they probably earned their own firehouse, which I felt they still did not do at the end of their film. When Ghostbusters Afterlife debuted, which is the 6th team to take on the Ghostbusters name, or I think maybe the start of the 6th team to take the name, I have a feeling there might be more films to come later on with more to add to this team. But I'll look to get to that later. On opening day, went to the film where Ghostbusters Columbus Division was on site to promote the film, as well as all the ecto vehicles they had in their fleet. A fun night, a fun film, and let us start with a fun review. The story of Ghostbusters Afterlife seems to revolve around Egon's family, his daughter Callie, as well as her son Trevor, and her daughter Phoebe. Phoebe seems to be the star of this film, as she is a girl not just trying to find her voice, but a hero she can aspire to be. She eventually finds that hero in the form of a spirit of Egon Spengler, who is guiding her to finish his work and trying to capture the spirit of Gozer, who is back for round 2. There are also 2 add-ons for this new Junior Ghostbusters team. A young kid named Podcast, who hosts a paranormal show on the Supernatural, as well as the sheriff's daughter called Lucky, whom Egon's mechanical son Trevor takes a fondness to. Also fulfilling the Majel Barrett requirement of beefcake in the film is Paul Rudd, who serves as Phoebe's science teacher, Greg Gruberson, and Callie's love interest. He also fills the Rick Moranis role of being the possessed vessel of Vince Clortho, while Callie serves as the possessed vessel of Zool. And I am left wondering at the end if this film does not lead to something bigger in the future. Looking back on this, I have covered a lot, and some of this I think probably a lot of viewers did not expect. But I felt that the Ghostbusters franchise should not have been limited to one team, one cast, and one venue. Some of the choices that were made with the franchise were popular. Some have been forgotten over time, and some not so much. But it's not just the films and the TV that have brought Ghostbusters to popularity. So have the games, which is the purpose of this video and video channel. So everyone just sit back, relax, and enjoy as I play through a little bit of Ghostbusters for the Atari 2600. Starting out, what you have is you have no entry screen. Basically, you start out with the game screen. No introduction, just the theme music playing in the background and the map before you with ghosts flying all over the place. And you have to go to your supply screen. You have to know what you're getting into. That's the ghost vacuum. You also have to get a certain amount of traps. You also have ghost bait and an image projector. The thing about this is sometimes the controls aren't exactly what you expect them to be. The difficulty switches, the select and the reset switches, well, they don't usually work as they would on a normal game. I've had to find myself resetting, getting the supplies, trying to get back to the main game screen. This, for me, was very much an
E.T. type of game. This was a game where you definitely had to read the instructions for you to know, like, even half of what you were doing. And when I got this version, when I was in the day, well, I didn't get it until it was at a yard sale, and I was able to get a copy, but no instructions manual. So I had to figure out quite a lot of it on my own. And what I could figure out, well, it just made the game kind of repetitive. There are several things about it that I was not aware of, and I wasn't exactly sure how they went about until I could find the instructions. And at first, well, once you got the supplies, now we start driving. We go to a location where there is a ghost, and we are driving Ecto-1. The Ghostbusters theme is always playing in the background in 8-bit glory. And get used to it. Now first, we trap the ghost. 1, lay down the trap. There's a Slimer in the way. Bring in your second one. Fire your streams to trap the Slimer. And then you activate the trap. Catch it. You do a little bit of a dance. Then you go on to the next one. And Ecto-1 is on the run again. Going to the next destination. Again, set the trap. To get in position for the Slimer. And call in your other Ghostbuster. Fire the streams. Get the Slimer into the proper position. Call up the trap. And the Slimer's trapped. And you do your little dance. Now you find the next trap. And you also see the sign Zool up ahead. I know in the movie it was Gozer, but for some reason the Activision game has it as Zool. And you notice the vacuum cleaner that's on the top of Ecto-1. You got that with your supplies. And that will come later once you come across a certain point. I'll explain that later. But right now, again, we're trapping another ghost. This gets repetitive pretty quick. And they're in position, firing, and he misses. But if the ghost misses, one of your Ghostbusters is slimed. So now, you gotta go back to the next stop. Ecto-1 driving down the road again. But yeah, this, like I said, the repetitive parts were driving Ecto-1 and using the ghost vacuum and busting the ghosts. The trap must be placed in the right place to catch it. And if the ghost is captured, they do a dance at the end. But if he's missed, then the Ghostbusters are knocked down, usually the one on the right. And here we come. We just had to cross a ghost in the map. So, yep, there we are. We come across a ghost, we suck them into the vacuum. And you also, nothing there, so had to go to the next destination. There we go. You'll notice in the, you've got PK meter and also the money amount. Slimed again. From what I can gather, the PK meter is not supposed to go up to or go past 9999, and your money amount has to be well around 10 or 12,000, definitely over $5,000. Otherwise, you wind up losing the game once the PK meter goes. Yep, and I missed a little spuddling there. And those are valuable because at some point you're going to be facing, and got the Slimer, you're going to be facing Zool, or rather you're going to be facing the Marshmallow Man. And, yep, trap another ghost again while en route. Yeah, and in this game, it's It's not Gozer, but Zool, who is the Marshmallow Man. I think there was a little bit of a mix-up on the movie front. Yep, got another Slimer. And, yep, this is the Marshmallow Man. I was not able to get to this position, so I had to use screen captures. The point of this is you apparently have to get underneath the Marshmallow Man and beat him. It's like once both Ghostbusters go under twice, cross the streams, and win the game. And the money can't go below 10,000, not 5,000.
For Ghostbusters for the Atari, it's very repetitive if you don't know what you're doing. This is definitely a game where you have to read the instructions on, much like you had to do with E.T. As for the Ghostbusters franchise, I hope for the best. I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I liked what I saw of it. And I'm hoping that there is a continuation of that franchise. But also, with that happiness comes heartbreak. Because there seems to be lesser franchises with just as passionate fan bases that aren't quite as lucky as the Ghostbusters or the Star Wars or the Star Treks or the Doctor Who's. And when those fans are told they're not important, that's kind of seen as acceptable. I think we know which franchises that don't get the nod. I think we know what we mean.
Don't forget to click and subscribe.